According to lolesports.com, a real close one, 56% of you believe that the analysts are all wrong, and Gambit is going to pull out this one. Wow.
So the power of the boot camping Gambit Gaming, they were so strong throughout Season 2, and they had to travel so much during the European LCS. They hardly had time to practice, and even with all of that, with maybe one practice day a week, they placed second in the spring split, and then third in the summer split. But now they have had more practice time than they've had at any point since, I gotta say, Season 2, and they were the powerhouses then.
Well, if Gambit are going to turn up and play for any game, it's usually against the biggest teams in the world, and you could certainly say that Samsung Galaxy Ozone are one of them. So here we go then, in-game Gambit versus Ozone, our final game of the day. These two teams obviously playing their second game in Group B. They currently sit at 1-0, both of them. The winner of this one, therefore, will go top of the table going into tomorrow's action.
I think the big breaking point in this game is the bottom lane, especially if they lane against each other. Only because Imp and Mata had such incredible success against Vulcan's bottom lane, and in Gambit's victory today against Mineski, Genja and Voidal actually gave up first blood to Mineski's bottom lane. It has been a sore spot for Gambit all throughout the summer split, trying to get that bottom lane synergy back ever since Genja and Edward have been broken up as that pair, with Edward heading over to the North American LCS. It's what has to work for Gambit if they want to win this game against Ozone.
And this is a very traditional Gambit lineup, I'd say. I mean, Cogmore Sona, that's a Gambit lane if I've ever seen one coming out of Europe, that's for sure. Darian, we heard Crepo say he's a fantastic Shen player, and you've always got to be very, very careful what he brings to the table. On the other side, though, we saw how comfortable Looper is with this Singe, doing ridiculous things, teleporting all over the place and catching people out. We'll see if he can bring the same to the table here, because Gambit are a team that, if you throw them a curveball, they still are able to catch it most of the time. Yeah,
and Looper, just to touch on his Singed a little bit, has went with ability power quintessences and a Doran's Ring start. So he's actually starting the game with 30 AP on Singed right now. Definitely looking to do a little bit of damage along with his farming. And just based off of where the junglers are starting right now, we're going to see that 2v2 matchup in the bottom lane. The All-Stars, really. I mean, not really All-Stars of Korea, but Imp and Mata. We've talked them up a lot on the analyst desk.
We have, and for good reason. And I think we'll be seeing more of that in this game. They're not a bottom lane that you expect to come into a game looking a little bit off, especially with Imp on that vein. But Genja, very, very experienced AD carry. Same can't really be said for Voidal. He's had the time in the LCS. Will he be able to perform here against one of the best teams in the world?
And Gambit has been happy with Voidal. It's just he hasn't really, to me, seemed like he's meshed entirely with the Gambit roster. Only in the playoffs did it seem like their synergy was coming back a little bit. And in the last week of the European LCS, that's when Genja was actually defaulting to his older AD carries, like Misfortune and even Kog'Maw. Immediately, the aggression comes out in the bottom lane, though.
And we can see both Imp and Voidal going very low from that one in the end, deciding not to follow things through. This mid lane, going to be Gambit's Alex Ich here on Ari taking on Dade on Rise.
This is the second time in a row Dade has had this Ari versus Rise matchup. Dade died early on to ManCloud's Ari, actually giving up a level 5 kill, but then he came back later in the game and started to dominate in that matchup. Darian just wanted to ignite somebody.
Try and force Looper a little bit out of that lane. Looper's not going to be forced out of any lanes by the looks of things here, though. And that, of course, is our top lane matchup. Looper, in their first game earlier on in the day against Vulcan, looked pretty unstoppable with that Singe. Actually, Dandy did just come and visit that top lane to see if they could get in for anything. He's still hanging around there. Darian, will he get caught out? He will actually get caught out from this one. Knock-up not quite landing onto him. So very close, though.
They're still trying to harass Darian down a fair bit. And this actually should give Diamond a little bit of time to roam around and maybe try and find something. This could very well create a collision course between Diamond and Dandy, as Diamond is just kind of looking for things to do. Now they decide to back away into their respective junglers.
So we've heard before, if we think back to some of the broadcasts from Champion Summer, how good Mata is here, you know, in terms of his ward positioning. And that could be even more important this game with that Evelyn on the field here for Gambit. If you get vision of an Evelyn and stop her being impactful, it's very hard to get that game going with her.
Yeah, pink ward control is absolutely paramount, and it shouldn't be that big of an adjustment for Ozone, even when there's not a stealth jungler in the game. They typically control the map with pink wards. It just becomes even more important. They should be buying more of those throughout the game. I'm actually expecting Dade and Dandy on their first backs to potentially pick up a pink ward apiece, but at least at this point in the game, without Diamond ganking, he's not going for it.
Genji taking a lot of damage here once again. Voidal was able to heal him up nicely from that one, but you see the Imp and Mats are starting to feel comfortable down in that bottom lane. Voidal uses Ignite earlier on, which gives the Ozone lane a 1 summoner spell advantage. Diamond is going to come into the middle. Dandy off to the side from this one as Diamond gets locked up. There's a knockup coming in on towards Alex Ich. Have they got the damage to finish this one off? Diamond is there going slow. There are the flashes over. Can they finish this one off? Dandy actually taking a lot of damage as well. Alex coming back in, but first blood goes down in the end to Diamond, but Alex will finish off, and it will be a 2-for-1 for Gambit. They played it so patiently and turned it around with the first blood plus the 2 kills.
And they had a level advantage going into that. So Diamond was actually landing hate spikes the entire time Ozone was chasing them in. Those are those clutch plays that can decide games. The 2v2 skirmishes where skill is such a huge impact in those matchups.
We just saw Looper actually. He's like, oh, look at that farm in the mid lane. Let's not let that one go to waste. I'll head straight down there with my teleport.
We got like 3
and I'm just going to recall. Worth. No problem.
Yeah, that's the definition right there.
Yeah, he's headed home.
Doesn't
anyway.
even have enough for a catalyst right now.
They're going to get boosts. That'll be enough, I think, for Looper at this point.
In Looper's defense, he had some pretty good teleports in the other game.
He did.
Also, he had the lane pushed up so far for Darien, and he was already a little bit low on resources. He's not losing out on too many minions of his own for going for that one. There's actually more action in mid lane, though.
Well, Dade is dead. That's not good news for him. And we talked about Diamond and how he's going to have to get the ball rolling earlier on. We also talked about possibly Dade having to pick up ping walls. Let's watch that one here again.
Listen, this is a level 6 Diamond and a level 6 Alex Ich against a pushed up Rise without ward control. You're going to die. You cannot make mistakes like this on this level of playing, and Gambit is going to get a Dragon out of it as well, unless Dandy can pull off a miracle 1v3 steal.
Well, he's heading in there. We see Mata is coming
Diamond
in as well.
doesn't have Smite up, actually.
No, he doesn't have Smite up here. This could actually be a little bit dangerous for them. Turns out, not dangerous at all, and Gambit are going to pick up the first Dragon of the game here, and look at that gold lead already, Jack. Solid start for Gambit.
So one thing that's interesting in all of these matchups, we've seen the games that SKT has played, and also the first game for Ozone. I don't think a Korean team has actually won an early game here yet in the World Championships, but they have come in so strong in the mid and the late game. Looper steals the blue. We talked before the game, during Champ Select, that Ozone's laning phase would not be aggressive. They would essentially be on the back foot throughout, because Rise needs to hit his items, Imp needs to be able to get his Blade of the Ruined King, and Looper has to get some levels under his belt. So it's actually about stopping the bleeding of Gambit right now. From Gambit right now, because Gambit's putting a lot of pressure on Ozone early on, and it's a matter of whether Gambit can keep that up.
One thing that's interesting, Diamond's Evelyn right now ahead healthily in CS, but also has spent a lot of time on this middle lane. And it seems to us obvious now looking at this, the game plan from Gambit was get Dade out of this game completely. And up until now, they've done a great job of it.
As long as they can keep his farm down. That's the tricky thing about Rise, is you see them die so much, but if they're farming, it's good.
Oh, Mata!
Look at this!
Wow, that was a terrible miscalculation. Voidal threw down the Ignite there as the flash came in from Mata, and the kill picked up, and that was all just very messy coming out of Ozone.
What is happening to Ozone right now? Because with all the talk up right now, those are a couple mistakes they've made here. Dade losing himself in the mid lane, not recognizing that he was against 2 level 6s, and then in the bottom lane, Mata flashing in to not get a kill back. 3,000 gold lead already at 9 minutes for Gambit, who were the Season 2 powerhouses, and, you know, calling them a dark horse because a lot of them are predicting them for 3rd in the group is a little generous, but man, they're playing well so far.
Oh, there's Diamond meeting Dandy inside of the river, slide away as that pink ward was put down, but Gambit have got a pink ward of their own, and they control that vision a little bit longer there in that lane. Top lane, we see that Looper, despite the time that he's had here, is still behind of Darien, and this is one thing that Darien does well. He'll quite happily sit on his island in that top lane and just farm away. Got a lead there, he's happy.
And Dandy needs to make a lot of plays here to get to get Ozone back in the game. he had 90% kill participation in their win over Vulcan, and he's got 100% kill participation right now. They just got to get some more kills. He needs to be able to create for them.
Well, here we see Lupa stealing away Wolves at this point. He's got a couple of deep wards down there. Is the miss actually coming out from the jump? They don't care. They're going down for this one. There is Darien coming in. Misses a taunt, but he'll get the kill anyway. Now he's locked up perfectly between the turrets here fighting against Andy.
Looper and Mata are coming in, though. This is going to be an extended fight, and Darien is in a lot of trouble.
Let's see how good Darien's ninja skills really are. He waits in from this one. Ward gets put over the side. Darien will go in, and there is Imp, and they don't want to give these kills over towards that Vayne, but Imp in the end will pick that one up. It was a 1-for-1 trade in the end. Dade it was that went down, so he's continued to be shut out of this.
Once Alex missed the charm, Gambit should have fallen back from that one. Even though they got a 1-for-1, it was killing a already behind Rise, and it gave a kill to the all-important Vayne that Imp is commanding right now. That is a good trade for Ozone, as we know they're going to be on their back foot for quite some time. They just need to hit their items, and then we're going to really start to see this game take off.
Yeah, freezing up that lane nicely here is Imp. Have a look down his items right now. Upgraded to those Berserker Greaves. Himself that Vamp Scepter in there with a single Doran's Blade as well. On the other side, Phage coming out for Genja along with the Berserker Greaves and double Doran's Blade. 2 games that we've seen Genja and he's not picked up more than 2 Doran's Blades.
Well, if he's going for a Trinity Force, he's got to pick a lot of components already. Double Doran's is already a little much for someone who does Trinity Force. Most Trinity Force users just go for the 1. He's hitting pretty darn hard here right now, though, and the Phage on Kog'Maw is actually a little curious. For some reason, I thought he was on Corki all of a sudden because I saw the Phage, but maybe we could see a Trinity Force Kog'Maw coming out. This is a little weird.
Well, if we're talking about AD carries and going a little bit weirder than the rest, Genja is possibly the prime example of that one. Meanwhile, Diamond is down on this bottom side. You see they gain that pink ward control.
Imp is low.
Imp is in all kinds of trouble here. Stranglethorn's gonna go down. Will Imp be able to escape this one? He's actually burning here as Lupa comes down. There is Dandy as well. Now it's Genja that's in trouble. He will fall. There's a kill onto Voidal, and now Diamond trying to get away. Flashes out of the Cataclysm, but Lupa is charging in after him, decides not to keep going with that one with Alex coming down, and in the end, it'll be a 2-for-0 for Ozone.
Brilliant bait right there by the Ozone bottom lane. Imp moving so well to escape that one. That was just total domination and outplay, getting the teleport to come in after Gambit had fully committed to that fight. And Darien had his wave pushed so far back that he's still struggling to get some damage down.
Yeah, only just got onto that turret to start getting things going. Got it down to less than half at this point, but Lupa is already well on his way back towards that outer turret, and I don't think that Darien not going to be able to finish that one off with this wave. I say that, and Lupa's headed straight towards those minions, and Darien, a man who's definitely not scared. We've seen that many a time from him in the European LCS and in previous other events as well, that he will quite happily stand on that turret and risk his life a couple of times. Let's call it that.
Yeah, he doesn't mind dying as long as it's better for the team, or even if he's already died a lot, then he's just willing to die a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think Gambit here does need to be very cautious about the potential of Ozone's team composition as far as just overall scaling goes, because while Gambit has loaded in a bit more sustained damage, there's still a little bit up front, especially from Alex Ichizari. It's going to be hard for him to be effective later on in the game if Looper and Dade get too much farm. So far, Gambit's done a very good job keeping Dade down, but Looper and Imp are getting going a little bit. And Alex can really only pick one as far as what he's going to kill, and knowing how elusive Imp is, life actually could become fairly difficult for Gambit, despite this large early game advantage they seem to have been building up.
And a lot of teams that we've seen today playing against the Koreans have had early game advantages, only to see it slip away from them. These are teams that you have to not only kind of beat down early, but you have to make sure you tread them into the ground afterwards, because they will rise up and take you straight back down with them. There's Darien and Lupa once again bashing heads basically up in this top lane. They're very even on CS and in terms of kills and deaths right now. Genja in this bottom lane has still that lead over him, but that kill earlier on, you can see, leaves them very, very even overall in gold. There's about 70 difference
it's a
between
couple
them.
creeps at the very most, and that's actually exactly where Imp wants to be. at least in the laning phase, because he knows how potent he can be in team fights. Diamond looking to stop this as well, though. They know Looper does not have his teleport up, and that would be a very bold dive since they have not even gotten harassed down onto Imp or Mata. There is a flash up for Voidal if he wanted to go for a flash crescendo. This is a very interesting thing. Diamond is still sticking around. If they get the 4th in for Alex, though, without counterattacks coming, it would be good. Diamond gets spotted.
Yep, spotted there by that pink ward. Actually, he's going to go in here on towards Mata. Are they going to be able to get Shen involved in this one? Stan United coming down. Strangle Thorns will stop it, but here comes Alex from the side. Mata blown to pieces, and Gambit forced them away. Should be able to get that turret here. Actually, the mini-wave actually pushing back against them. However, Dragon is available. Meantime, Looper is taking the top turret.
5-man squad for Gambit only results in 1 kill, and this isn't even really an objective gain because they lost one as well in the top lane. If they give too much lane control to Looper Singed, second game he's pretty much ever played on a big stage, and he's playing fantastically once again. It was a nice idea from Gambit, but they almost overcommitted, giving Looper a bit too much time to farm. The Shen ult was unnecessary.
Yeah, and we can see earlier on we were talking about Darien versus Looper, how even it was in terms of creeps, despite them bashing heads and constant aggression against each other in that lane. It's actually really excelling now for Looper, up 140 to 116 CS. See if Darien here, with a couple of waves being pushed against his inner turret by now, whether he'll get himself back up to standards with that one. On the other side of things, we could probably check in with the items between the AD carries here once again. Genja picking up that Zeal, headed up towards that Trinity Force.
That is going to be a Trinity Force Kog'Maw. You can make the argument that he needs the move speed to keep up with Fane or to kite back Shen, and also the fact that Kog'Maw can actually get in Trinity Force procs whenever he wants, as long as he's using his living artillery during team fights. It could work. I'm not calling it out right here because Genja has been known to find some brilliant builds in the past.
He also built Tia on Varus.
That was not as brilliant, but this one has potential.
This one has potential, and we're not going to judge it before we've seen the end result. We saw Dandy there in that top side of the brush here, and won't take much really for him to be spotted, but he's still there.
There is Flash and Barrier up on Genja and Voidal, though. Plus, if Diamond gets around, he's going to have that Eve ultimate up in time. Dandy, even though he's still got that 100% kill participation, has been spending a lot of time waiting around in this game.
And he's still waiting around here on the bottom. Diamond actually backed away, is now coming back just in time as Dandy actually backed away from that one as well. So, kind of exchange of positions in this one. Diamond is still on that bottom side of the map doing his golems. Dandy backing away now. Actually went over a ward there earlier on, which is why I didn't even spot that in the Tribush. That was there earlier from Diamond.
And Looper wants to make another play here in the bottom lane. This could be the counter gank, because Darien does not even have Stand United up yet, and Diamond is going to be looking to get aggressive, seeing as he's been waiting around for so long and kind of hunting. Looper could come and just ruin Gambit's day if things go wrong.
We have Dandy waiting off to the side. Diamond actually going to spot him here, and that's a crucial bit of vision that they've picked up. The blue buff is actually available. We'll see if they try and invade for this one. Alex had started to move around from that middle. This outer top turret is still alive, despite all that free time that Darien's had in there. Let's not forget he was pushed up to pretty much his inner turret by the time Looper went down towards that bottom lane. That will finally get finished off here. First turret of the game for Gambit.
These guys are trading a lot back and forth, and still a 4,000 gold lead is nothing to laugh at here from Gambit. Ozone came down from a similar gold deficit against Vulcan already today, 2 games ago in the group stage, so we cannot count them out here. Kind of checking in with Dade's rise. He's actually only 10 minion kills behind Alex, despite getting obliterated in the laning phase. If you're not shutting down Rise's minion farming and tier stacking, he is still going to be a potent damage dealer in the upcoming team fight. So Ozone is still sticking around in this one. And I always say, you know, the mark of a good team are ones that know how to come back from deficits. Obviously, it's nice to not get deficits in the first place, but playing League of Legends, that's going to happen from time to time. And every game so far today in the World Championships, the Korean teams have fallen behind early. OMG was able to close out SK Telecom, but other than that, Ozone came back in the first one, and they're going to have to do it again.
Well, interested to see how Alex's impact will really sway this game here as well. That DFG now in there and finished, but he's been relatively quiet, trying to sneak down toward this bottom lane a couple of times. Didn't really get the free time to do that one, and has not been able to get in there on towards Dade either for a 1 versus 1 kill. So he's been relatively quiet from that one. It's not obviously going to stay that way. This game kind of quick at the start, a little bit slower as the last few minutes have ticked away, but at some point this one's going to explode.
Gambit has been doing a phenomenal job just keeping up right now. Alex with his Deathfire Grasp, even with the defensive build from Dade, but Voidal can't get caught like that. Here's a fight.
Got the crescendo down from this one. Stranglethorn's coming in. Voidal going so very, very low. Looper has teleported down as well. But look at him taking so much damage. Will have to use the barrier. Cataclysm goes down. Darian going to charge on through. Here comes Diamond and Genja. They've managed to get the slowdown. Looper charging on the way back towards his turret with that ultimate and his ghost running. And now Alex moving in. Misses the charm. That's not going to allow him to lock up the rise, but a 2-for-1. Brilliant turnaround from Gambit.
Getting the teleport out and then still coming out on top. That fight was all about Darian closing onto Imp. Imp tried to make his textbook escape, but barely Darian was able to track him down. Gambit roamed with Ozone and came out on top.
This is going to be turret number 2 here for Gambit going down in that bottom lane. 20 minutes, 50 seconds on the clock. And a 6,000 gold lead coming down now for Gambit as well. Looking very, very promising for them as Alex here going to get engaged upon by Dade. Look how low it's taking him. Alex forced to use his ultimate to get away from that one.
I really have to give credit to Dade for the pick of Rise, not necessarily his early execution of Rise. Oh, look out, Darian.
Oh, stunned over the wall, stunned against the wall there. Actually, Imp, nothing that he's got there to follow up. Obviously, used that flash earlier on. Darian lives.
The timing of that, though, was exceptional for Ozone because they know there's no Darian in this potential Dragon fight. There's also no crescendo for Voidal. If Gambit wanted to contest it, it is extremely dangerous. I think Gambit should just go for a lane, but they're actually pinging. Diamond wants to try and steal this.
Diamond coming around, actually getting rid of that pink ward there. That might allow them to force some pressure as Ozone start to engage. Dade is a little bit isolated and he's forced a flash back to the safety of his team. Funnily enough, though, it bought Ozone enough time to pick up Dragon.
All right, so they're trying to get some objectives back, but since they actually took a lot of damage in that fight and now the Shen is returned, Gambit could just get a turret right for this one. Yeah, maybe more.
Maybe more here. They've got complete positional advantage. See Danny just sliding on through to get behind that turret to defend it, but where's the rest of the team? They need someone in. Looper's off to the side.
Ozone might look to fight this one as the turret's going very low. Gambit initiate!
There is a throw of Alex Hicks back in. He will just spirit rush straight back out as a crescendo comes down. Looper low. Danny's already dead. Taunt from Darian. They're not finished. Matter. He's going to get finished off. It's now Imp and Dade to save this fight for them. Diamond comes around the side. Imp still charging on down onto him. Is he able to get him? Yes, they were able to finish off in the end. That was a passing of Zyra actually that got the kill. But that will be a 3-for-1 and 2 middle turrets.
And you were right, Joe. This game is speeding up. Dragon right into 2 turrets and a big team fight. Imp trying to get some sneaky moves going on, but Genja and Darian are there to stop him. That last fight was really just Ozone almost trying to put up a bit of a last stand. This is becoming a 7,000 gold lead now, and unless Ozone starts taking some significant risks, they're going to lose out in the overall gold game and just lose their ability to hold out.
And Gambit are not generally a team that throw away leads. We'll discount the game against CLGU back in the day because that's a different story altogether, but generally when this team gets ahead, they're able to hold it. They know how to win games a lot of the time without even taking Baron. I'm not sure that this will quite be that kind of cutthroat finish game that they're looking for. But if we look down the items, they see they have so much burst potential with both Diamond and Alex carrying DFGs now.
And that is actually Diamond's textbook or signature Eve build. So many other Eves will just stack the magic penetration, but Diamond loves to go for that Deathfire Grasp, just to amp his ultimate even more as he's trying to initiate these fights. Gambit may actually have some issues actually turret diving on top of Ozone just because the Zyra exists, for one, and because their main initiator, who is Diamond, might catch turret aggro in a bad place. There's also a lot of things that can just mess up their dive when you consider the Shen and the Cataclysm that could be coming out from Ozone. So despite this 7,000 gold lead, Gambit is definitely not clear sailing for this game.
Certainly not. And a team like Ozone are a team that will capitalize on any little mistake that Gambit put down in this one. We're 25 minutes into this game already, and again we're moving to somewhat of a slower phase after an incredibly successful push up that middle lane coming out of Gambit to really build that lead out. 7,000 gold is currently the lead that they're sitting on. 4-1 in turrets, 11-6 in kills, and if we look at the kills, to just touch on them, spread perfectly through the team.
Yeah, the only thing, you know, they really couldn't ask for more, actually. Because I'm thinking about the things they need to be able to do against a team with the tankiness of Shen and Ryze and late-game teamfights. And everyone actually needs to kind of be able to hold their own if you're Gambit Gaming right now. It's working out masterfully for them right now. Genja, his Trinity Force build, still being weird, going Infinity Edge afterwards. He's also picked up his Distortion Boots. He's really just going for that extra bit of mobility and does not want to get caught in a bad spot by either Jarvan, Singed, or Ryze. That's what he needs to do on Kog'Maw, because he'll get to the damage just because he's Kog'Maw. The item build doesn't matter as much as he does.
Do they dare start off Baron? They've got vision control of that top side of the Ozone jungle, but do they dare start it off at this point? There is the burst coming down on towards Mata. Stan United going to get involved. Are they going to go for this one? They're managing to force them away. They are going to go for the fight. Crescendo comes through. Darien knocked up by the Strangle Thoughts as Lupa gets involved as well. But look at Ozone. They're one by one being taken down. Imp got into the middle of them. They need to lock him out of this one. He will be finished off. It's Genja that picks that one up. It's a 4 for 2. Can Danny escape from this? He gets taunted up. Flashes towards the back to Genja. But he goes down. It's a triple kill and an ace for Gambit.
And Genja is just locking on to whatever is closest and destroying it. He is shredding through Ozone right now. That was a fight initiated by Alex and then re-initiated by Diamond. Gambit, that boot camp is paying off for them right now. They are in control of this game.
Well, did we ever doubt it? Let's have a look at that fight another time, because it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the thing that made Ozone want to stay in on this one is the quality of the Mata ultimate right there that he put down. It actually delayed the team fight and allowed Imp to go in pretty strongly, but he couldn't get the finish. You can see Imp moves around team fights so well, but the rest of Ozone was trapped in the back, getting shredded by Genja's Kog'Maw, and it just did not allow him to be finished off here. Dade tried to make a big play at the end, getting AoE with his Ryze, but Genja and the rest of Gambit had too much lockdown, too much damage, and let's be honest, that was a 3v1.
Yeah, definitely. If you look down the kills here once, again,
that
actually not. Alex there getting in. That's what he was aiming to do last time, 100-0. This time it works out very, very nicely for him. That gives us a 5v4 at this very moment, but we can see that Ozone trying to push this mid lane out. They don't want Gambit having an easy time of either the Dragon or the Baron at this point.
And Alex actually had to flash away after he picked up that kill on Mata. I almost have to say that picking up a 6th kill on an already 1-in-5 support in expense for your 7-1 AP carry assassin mids, ultimate and flash isn't necessarily worth it. I think Gambit could have gotten this Dragon regardless of the assassination onto Mata, and it does mean that Gambit needs to be a little bit cautious about the way they approach these things. Only because Imp on Vayne, Dade on Ryze, and just the amazing scaling that Ozone has means Gambit still needs to pick their fights properly. They can't get too antsy, and they can't get too anxious about going in, because one tower dive gone wrong, especially with the kill streaks that so many people on Gambit have picked up, would swing back that gold lead tremendously.
So here we go then. Baron started off. Singed is down the bottom here, but Lupa does have teleport, so he can get involved here if he so wishes, if they even realize that Gambit are going to be doing this one. They've not seen them for such a long time. They must feel that something like this is going to be happening, but they're not really in a position to challenge for that whatsoever. We see both Imp and Mata going back. Lupa is going to be taking down the outer turret in the bottom lane, but Gambit with a solid pickup of Baron. They're now over 10,000 gold.
And the Baron buff means they're going to be looking to push the outer turrets in the top and the bottom lane, or just go straight for the inhibitor in the middle of Ozone's base right here. And that Baron was really just the summation of all the pressure Gambit has been putting on Ozone. It had a lot to do with ward control, or mainly just map presence for Gambit. I know I said it wasn't worth it to kill Mata that one time, but he's the one who kind of had to go in and get that vision back. And since they had no vision, and they'd been punished so many times for trying to get vision back, Ozone essentially had to give up and just concede that portion of the map, which happened to contain Baron, and allowed Gambit to take it uncontested.
So let's see what Ozone do to try and work their way back into this one. We've seen constant push and pressure from Looper in his outer lanes, trying to force Gambit away from really doing anything on their side of things. And we see Zat once again headed off towards that bottom side of the map by the Dragon, just going to stick himself a pink ward down in that scenario. But Gambit, with that Baron buff running, they're not a team that mess around when they've got something like that.
And Looper can no longer be that surprise factor in the long, drawn-out team fights, because Ozone is actually getting bursted down a little too fast. Genja, with his Kog'Maw, is shredding through the tanks of Samsung Galaxy Ozone, and Diamond is just starting it off for him, getting everyone % health lowered right at the start. These team fights are not working out the way Ozone wanted them to, or the way they played out for Ozone against Vulcan. Enough damage, persistent damage, was taken by Gambit in this game that they're able to crush down Singed and Rise before they can really become a problem.
Look at Darien as well. Warmog's now added in there to that Sunfire Cape and the Spirit Visage from earlier. He is not scared of dying now. I mean, he never really is anyway. Doesn't matter what items he's got, but at this point, he's probably feeling like he's on top of the world, and they may come in.
Yeah, Diamond is looking to go in the back here. This is the danger turret, I like to call it. This is the turret where teams get aced, but Gambit says, yeah, we don't need that. We're going for the middle inhibitor.
This is something they do really well, and we've already seen it from them earlier when they took 2 turrets in that mid lane. This one gives them a third. Just a simple positional play there, catching Ozone out, and Darien is looking like he wants to go for a taunt.
This is a very curious fight right now, because while if they catch a charm, they can burst out any member of Ozone, Ozone could fall back to the double Nexus turrets, and it could be a dangerous dive. There are so many free treats outside of that spot for Gambit right now. They're just going to go and take those. This outer turret is one of them.
And setting up a bit of a trap while they're at it. They've got Genja and Darien pushing the turret himself. 3 of them actually hanging around here between mid and the middle lane there as Danny. Is he going to go down from this one? He is absolutely destroyed. Stan United comes in. Imp is down to less than half HP. He needs to stay alive here, but he's not going to stay alive. Darien will take him out. Looper in the middle of them. There is Genja flashing in. He's going to go now on towards Mata. Surely be able to finish him off from this one as well. He's close to getting away. Roots him underneath the turret. Looper died in the end as well, and it's now only Mata to save Ozone here from a Gambit defeat.
And Joe, this looks like a landslide victory for Gambit. They never let Ozone back in, and there is the surrender.
Surrender, brilliant victory here from Gambit. A well-deserved, thoroughly deserved victory, I'm going to say there, because what a performance coming out. We wondered which Gambit were going to turn up here to the World Championships, because, my gosh, we've seen quite a few different variations of them throughout this last summer split. But this was world-beating, top-quality Gambit gaming right here.
Yeah, and this is a message to the rest of their group right now, because Ozone beat Vulcan, the team that had beat Fnatic, badly. And then Gambit just crushed them. Everyone coming into this tournament just expected Ozone to dominate. Gambit had other ideas, as they always do, and that was such an impressive victory. They knew that they had to finish it early. They never let Ozone's weak laning phase transition into the game, which is something that has been happening so well for Ozone, and Gambit really earned that one from start to finish.
And that really opens up Group B now as well. I mean, these were the 2 teams, obviously, that were sat at 1-0, but with Gambit taking that win, Fnatic obviously picking up their last win against Mineski, with so many games still left to be played, and if it wasn't already difficult to call, it's certainly just impossible now.
And I just can't believe, exactly, it's impossible to call right now. Analstes, good luck, right? Because we have right now Ozone 1-1. Group A, SK Telecom, also 1-1. The 2-0 teams in the group are now OMG and Gambit. It is just wide open for the rest of this group stage. It's great that we have the double round robin because I cannot wait for these teams to play again.
I wish we could have had triple round robin. That's how good
Quadruple.
this is. Let's just keep going forever until we find a champion here in Season 3. Guys, we're going to take a last break here, but when we return, we'll dissect the biggest plays from Gambit's brilliant victory. Plus, we'll break down tomorrow's games and update the standings for you. So don't go anywhere. The Season 3 World Championship will be right back.
Welcome back to the Season 3 World Championship live from Los Angeles. Once again, I'm happy to be joined by Kobe, Monte Cristo, Crepo, and Doublelift. And gentlemen, that last game was quite back and forth, one that everybody definitely stayed in their seats and kept it tuned in at home to watch. Monte, the early part of the game kind of showed something from Gambit, but then as well it kind of flowed into the game that you saw in Ozone.
Well, I guess I was really surprised by that game. I mean, Gambit played extremely well, and this is what I was talking about and why I selected them to leave the group. They always play to the level of their opponent, and they're an extremely talented and a very dangerous team. And what we saw there, too, what really struck me was the Evelyn pick from Gambit. And there was a total lack of respect from Ozone for this pick. We saw nearly no pink wards in the lanes in the early game, and that gave Diamond huge free roam of the map and allowed him to make some pretty great plays. And what's particularly interesting too is that in Korea, they didn't play Jungle Evelyn until after All-Stars when Insect played against Diamond's Jungle Eve, and then that pick filtered over. Insect started using it in the jungle. Dandy started using it in the jungle. So this is a team, Ozone, that knows how to play Jungle Eve and play against Jungle Eve, and just totally forgot. No pinks, I guess. Pretty fundamental errors from Ozone, surprising.
And Preble?
Even if you're not pink warding like the exits to the or the entrances to the jungle, one other way to deal with an Eve is to ward actual jungle camps, so you can predict where she's going. But there was just literally nothing of that going on. And Eve is such a pick that changes the entire mindset of an entire team, because everybody has to account for not only is there a jungler, he's also invisible. He can show up not only through the normal ward paths, he can sneak on your lane and get into your brush behind you. And Diamond's really good at reading where he has to go with that.
Also, it wasn't just the success of Diamond, but also Dandy, you know, he didn't get off his successful gank top. Maybe a little bit of miscommunication there with the Singe flip. And then he went into the 2v2 situation versus Alex, and they chased very deep.
They went too far,
taking those hate spikes all the way along, and they gave up the first blood there.
When that happened, I heard Monty squeal and joy. He's like, the Dandy counter gank is coming. And I'm like, oh my god, the Dandy counter gank is... And then it failed. And I was like, wow, they got double killed. That was great.
To be fair, Dandy couldn't do much there. That was more Dada chasing a little bit too far.
Yeah, using that flash, because Dada repeatedly used flash that game to put himself in really sticky situations.
Think of that last team fight as well.
Well, the idea was kind of okay there, but he was on way too low HP and way too little damage to make it work.
Well, let's talk about those team fights a little bit, because we saw, obviously, the Vayne and the Kog'Maw, two of the late-game king and queen of AD carries here, but it was a little bit different with the Trinity, Triforce rather, build on that Kog'Maw. Doublelift, you definitely had quite a bit to say during that game.
Oh boy, dude. Where do I start? Like, Genja is just the best at making interesting builds. He does like crazy stuff on Ashe, like Manamune on Ashe, and now he's doing Triforce on Kog'Maw. And by interesting, I mean really bad. I just think it's so terrible. It's only good for lane. Krepo mentioned earlier that it's good. The components of it are good. Phage and Zeal are good for lane. Then when you finish Triforce, it's a complete waste of money. I hate it. I think it's just bad.
It's good up until the point where you finish it, because it makes it really hard to match a second item with it. But I think what went to Genja's mind and what the thought process is that every time he's living artilleries, he gets a speed up, and combined with slowing from E, he gets mobile enough to deal with the Singed. But at the same time, as Double pointed out to me, like Blade of the Ruined King could have accomplished somewhat of the same things.
Oh, I see the synergy with Triforce and Kog'Maw, definitely. I just think there's a lot more efficient and conventional ways you can build.
But that wouldn't be Genja.
Yeah, that wouldn't be Genja, though.
All right, well, we have enough time to see these all going on tomorrow. We got to throw it over to Freak. He's actually going to be breaking down some plays on this Telestrator. One key play for us. Freak, take it away.
Thank you very much, Riv. I wanted to break down a really important mid-game team fight between Gambit and Ozone. This is the fight, I think, that really swung the game heavily into Gambit's favor and gave them control of the map. So let's actually break down all the elements here. So Gambit are sticking around for a very low health turret. It's actually going to be Darien who sits there and just wails on it until it dies. And that actually baits the backline of Ozone, because Imp is going to hit Darien the entire time. Dade on Rise is going to hit Darien the entire time. While they're doing that, Looper and Dandy are diving into the backline of Gambit. But you're diving into a Kog'Maw who melts tanks for 11